Okay, it is one thing. I'll call this meeting to order. Our workshop meeting. I'm happy that all these people showed up to hear the wonderful news that you're about to share with us on your 5-year anniversary of WEPA. Raphael, do you want to introduce your team and then you may proceed with your report.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes. My name is Rafael Torres. To my right, I have a co-founder, Maribel Torres, my wife. To the left, I have Ms. Kay Lippman, the executive director of Tech Centro Lebanon. And we have one of our most recent graduates, Melissa Gillette, joining us today. I do want to recognize folks in the audience. I have board members. I have Michael Stevens and Sherry Martin from M&T Bank, who are financial supporters of our center. Thank you to the community at large. WEPA, a short 5 years ago, like I was reminded, we came to the county commissioners and spoke about our needs in Lebanon County, Lebanon City included. The journey has been an eventful journey, but one that needed collaboration, needed forward thinking, needed to break barriers in this community. One of our biggest needs was workforce training, education, but more importantly, opportunities. We have skilled laborers, we have people in our community that want to be part of making our community better. And we presented the plan 5 years ago to focus on workforce training, education, and community building from the grassroots, from people themselves. And today I'm proud to come back 5 years later and share with you all of the good news. And of course, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And I'll have an ask after a presentation from Ms. Kay Lippman, our executive director.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And thank you for providing this opportunity in this forum so that we can share updates with county commissioners, with the community at large. My name is Kay Lippman again, and I am honored to share the work that we've been doing at the WEPA Empowerment Center, where we really are providing solutions and real workforce challenges that are here in Lebanon County. So as many of you know, Lebanon County, while it's growing, we still have a lot of households that are struggling financially. Unemployment is relatively low, but that number we know doesn't tell the full story. The real issue for our community members is underemployment. We have individuals who are working, but they're not earning enough to support themselves and their families. And to put this in perspective, the average per capita income in Pennsylvania is about $44,000 annually, while in Lebanon City, that drops to $24,000. That gap is a real challenge for families. So at the same time, we have top employers, healthcare, manufacturing, retail, transportation, hospitality, and they're all hiring. So the issue isn't lack of jobs. It's access for our community to skills, training, and support that's needed to create better, securing, sustainable careers. And really, that's where we come in. Tech Centro Lebanon is the Education and Workforce Development Division of the WEPA Empowerment Center. And our mission is really simple but powerful. It's to provide job readiness, language acquisition, and high-demand workforce training to the unemployed and underemployed. Our work is built on collaboration with federal, state, local partners, community organizations, and employers. So, as you certainly know, county commissioners, we are located in the heart of Lebanon City, in the historic Elks building located at 9 South 9th Street. And it's been transformed in these 5 years to a full-service workforce training center. But this space is more than a building. It's a hub of opportunity. It's designed to be accessible, welcoming, and visible to the community that we serve. Now, what makes our model different is how we support individuals. And our model is to focus on the whole person, not just job training, but that includes language development specifically for the workplace, job readiness skills, holistic case management, and supportive services to remove barriers. After significant renovations to the Elks building, we opened our doors for phase 1 services in August of 2023. In 2.5 years' time, we now offer a full pathway of services and programs, including employment services that assist with resumes, job coaching, employment referrals, job fairs, adult education classes, English as a second language classes, levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, conversation English groups. New this quarter is industry-specific English in healthcare and CDL professionals, computer basic classes, financial literacy programs. And we're excited to announce with a grant received from WellSpan, we are launching an intensive job readiness ESL program called Career Forward in the fall. That's not all. We've launched 10 workforce training programs, including certified medical assistant, certified phlebotomy technician, certified nurse aide, certified dental assisting with extended functions, certified medical coding and billing, healthcare office assistant, medication technician, office professional, commercial driver license, driving licensing, and certified forklift operators. But the results speak for themselves. Since August 2023, we've served over 1,700 people. We supported more than 1,100 people through employment services and 400 people through adult education. 120 individuals have graduated from our workforce training programs and have earned over 238 individual credentials. Our workforce training programs have a 94% graduation rate, and 91% of the graduates of workforce graduates are employed within 6 months. What's most important is that these participants are earning good jobs between $17 and $25 an hour or more. So the economic impact now is generating over $10 million in annual earnings that these families are contributing to our local economy. So the investment that you've made in WEPA has been an investment in workforce development, and not just on individuals, but in the entire community. And we want to thank you for that. We will be sharing soon our plans for the next phase in expanding our programs. And you should know that we have a wait list already. So we know the demand is out there. So I'll close with this. When we and you, as you have, invest in people, we don't just fill jobs, but we know that we're building futures, strengthening families, and growing communities. So I thank you for your time, your partnership, and your commitment to making a difference. And now, as I shared before, those numbers are great, but we have with us a testimony from one of our most recent graduates, Melissa Gillette, and she's with our CNA program, and we'd love to hear your story.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to share. My journey began 24 years ago to becoming a certified nursing assistant. At the time, I had attended Stonebridge and Myerstown and took the class there. I passed the class in both the clinicals. The next step was to take the state test. I took the state test. I passed the written, but I failed the skills. It was one simple mistake. Sometimes it's not the big mistakes that you mess up on, it's the little mistakes. So you have to be more aware of those those small mistakes. I scheduled it a second time, I did pass it. In the process of obtaining it, I did work at Stonebridge. It was challenging at times, but we came through it on the other side of it, working as a team. A few years later, I have left the working field to be a stay-at-home mom. And at that time, if you do not work within a 2-year period, 8 hours, your certification lapses. And then I was given the opportunity to go back and take the state test. I passed the written, but I failed the skills. Things from 24 years ago to the present have changed. So there were some things that I did not learn when I did it 24 years ago. So I had to learn those things to the present and how things are done now. So as I was researching to get my certification back, I was researching different places and WEPA had popped up. I contacted them. I inquired about the class and I was very excited to begin taking the class. So I made an appointment. I met with Saida at WEPA and she gave me all the information and everything that I needed to do. I had everything into her within like 48 hours. I just really wanted to take the class and get my certification back. I was not supposed to start the class till April, but I got a phone call in December and I was given the opportunity to take the class sooner. And I did that. And as I began the class, I did not know what to expect, what I was walking into since it had been 24 years since I obtained my certification. It was, there were different cultures in our class. There were 3 different languages. But we came together as a class, we worked together, and it was really a blessing and amazing to be in a class with these ladies. Some of it was a refresher for me, some of it was new things that I had to learn, and which I did. Our teacher, Mrs. Furman, she was excellent at teaching us and sharing with us what state had expected from us as we, went through the class and what was expected when we would do our state testing. It was just overall a really great experience for me, and I really would recommend, if there's anybody out there looking to have a career change or a new start, that they would check out WEPA. They offer a lot of good things. I really enjoyed the class. I couldn't say any more about WEPA. I mean, it is just an overall wonderful program that they have this outreach to the community, and it's open to anybody. It's not limited to a certain background or certain culture. It is for anyone that is looking, to further their education. And in the process of obtaining my certification from a nursing assistant, it also helps me to be able to advance into a future career if I want to further my education onto like LPN school or RN school. So it gives me the information that I need to start at this level, but also go on to the next level. Nursing is rewarding, but it can also be hard. But I love working with the elderly. I do work in home care and I do one-on-one, and it is a blessing to be able to have that relationship with those people. And in the nursing homes or hospitals, wherever else you may be working, you also build those relationships because they become family to you, and you're their family to them because they see you on a regular basis. So again, I am very grateful that I was given that opportunity to take the class, and I did obtain My certification, I passed both my skills and my written portion. So I am now officially a CNA.
Congratulations.
This is one transformational testimony after another. When we focus on our efforts on people, our community thrives, it gets better. It's through people. It's not through things, it's not through buildings, even though sometimes buildings and things are important. But when we focus on people, that's when it really, really matters, because the touch point just it's the individual, it's the family unit, it's the neighborhood, it's the city, it's the county-wide. So in closing, I want to thank the county commissioners for believing in us. I want to thank Tech Central Network, which is a regional effort where we come together through our political representatives who have been supporting the network as a whole, our local efforts here in supporting this workforce development community center, WEPA Empowerment Center here in the city, in the heart of Lebanon. You know, we do have infrastructure needs. We do have grant funding that we've received. We just have challenges in trying to balance the renovations that are needed and engaging our community. So in the future, we're updating our ground floor, basement for building trades, carpentry, plumbing, HVAC. We also have to make sure that we have a full-fledged sprinkler system. Many of our infrastructure and our buildings here in the city especially are, you know, late and outdated, so we need to work on that. We also need to make sure that we continue to be available for our community through our employment services, through our workforce training programs. Hey, when we have an opportunity to be creative, if you go back on the backside of WEPA, there's not a full semi truck parked back there, but a half a semi, and it's used in our CDL program. You know, we don't have to sit there and try to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is already there. We just need to be creative. On the weekends, on Saturdays, once a month, we rent our own forklift and we have basic certification on forklift training, you know, right there in our backyard. You know, it's for me, it's been a long 5 years, but so heartwarming. So I mean, I get amped up to continue on this day and the next day. I do have several requests in order to help us to continue our journey. The first thing is that we as a team need to formally request the county to release the 250,000 lien that we have on the building so that we can continue our renovations. The second request that we have is that we have secured funding to be able to do our elevator to provide access to all 3 floors and into our training programs. But we either need the county or the city to submit our environmental review, which is required by the feds. We do all the work. It's just that they are requesting us and any other group that in order for us to get access, there's only 2 entities that are able to submit that paperwork for
So you
us.
want us to sign for it and send it in? Is that what you're
Yes,
asking?
that's all it is. We're providing all of the information. We just need to sign off from either the county or the city to go ahead and provide us that access to the funds. And WEPA means a lot of things to us. It actually means joy. It's an expression of excitement. We want people to see us and we want people to feel us. We want people to sit there and just scream it out and shout it out, all of their joys, all of their successes. And I want to thank many community members that are here behind me supporting this program. I don't do this alone. We don't do this alone. It takes the community to really take care of the village. So thank you for all of your support financially. Thank you for all your thumbs up whenever I'm on social media or I'm a tree hugger, so I love hugs. Keep hugging me. And let's do better for each other. Let's do better for all of us.
What was number 3 in just a couple words?
Number 3.
Oh, I thought you said there were 3.
No, there's 2 actually.
My-
Oh,
my
the
bad.
third one? Save the date. Come on out and join us at our events. We have our 5th year anniversary gala. That's in October of 2024. Tomorrow we have an open house, happy hour. So come by, say hello. Come by, between 4 and 7. So while most places close at 5, WEPA stays open till 8:30, 9 o'clock. You can see the youth, you can see our community going through English language learning classes, phlebotomy, dental assistant. Seriously, come by Monday through Friday. And just come and share with us and introduce yourself. And we need all the help that we can get. So thank you. Thank you for your support of these last time.
Raphael, you should be in sales, but I think you are in sales. You're selling brighter futures again. Maribel and Raphael and Kay, thank you for coming and sharing the numbers and everything, but also bringing Melissa to share her story, because the numbers show the return on investment, but her story is priceless in that return. So thank you, and God bless you. Keep up the great work you're doing.
Thank you.
Amen. So Raphael, I know your 5 years is up, but you sound like you're still energized to keep going, because Maribel is, got you moving there. So that you guys are a great team.
Make sure he keeps going.
Good, good. But my
We actually made a 10-year commitment, if you didn't know
oh,
that.
I thought it was 5, so that's good.
Well, no, we made a 10-year commitment
Oh, 5
to
and 5.
setting the foundation.
That means I can't retire until 5 years from now.
That's Lebanon. So
Too
that's good.
young.
But my challenge is, I come across this very often with colleagues in the insurance industry, where we can hire people that are reception people, can make appointments and so on, but they have struggled getting their licensing, and that's statewide. And so with your, regional group now that you're part of, and the power that you folks have, it's the same with my auto mechanic who inherited a business, but he can't get past the inspection licensing. So because of the language barrier and the tests, it's very difficult for studying and translating. They know the craft, but they cannot get over the hurdle of the nuances in the language differences. So if there could be some help with that through your, lobbying efforts, you Mike mentioned you're a great, salesperson. Well, this would be a way for so many people to get family sustaining wage jobs, and they're across the state. So
And just
Oh, I wanted to touch on that because along those same lines, I'm currently working with one international, she's a surgeon from Peru. And she's, of course, wants to continue working here. That process is very long. She did take our conversational English class, so her English has improved, but it's just navigating that process of what do I do? How do I get my license back? Then in our current ESL class, we have another medical professional from Dominican Republic. So now the 2 of us that have been going through this process are working with this second doctor so that she can work through that process and get her licensure back. So there is a lot of professionals out there, like you mentioned, and just they have the skill or they have the opportunity, but they need to navigate that to get their license. So that
it's
is a
really the language barrier with the testing that's a bugger. And most agents will pay the process for the, person to go to school and get all that background work so they can qualify for the test. But that test is, because of the language barrier, it's very difficult.
So just to, piggyback off what you said, there's a lot of folks that are interested in the CDL program. So we're going to be starting very shortly with one of our community members, a CDL workforce language. So they only focus on CDL, that language, right? The other thing that we're doing, the intro to healthcare, it's all healthcare related language learning. Unfortunately, it's not just those of us that speak various languages like myself. And the bad news is that when you know one language and you start learning a new one, guess what? You're going to forget your original one. There's times where I forgot the Spanish word. There's times I forget the English word, and I have to just maintain maintain the training, the minds to do that. So our reading levels, because we test everybody, even those of us that are primarily English language learners from birth, very low. They're scoring fourth grade and barely a fifth grade reading level. And that's just to be able to enter through, see, Ms. Kay shaking her head. So it's not just those of us that are learning the new languages. The challenges are there. We are being creative and also looking forward into creating a manufacturing English as a second language training. So we're going to be industry focused on the needs in our community. Healthcare, CDL, manufacturing, and eventually the building trades. Getting those skilled laborers that are there who have deficiencies and getting them leveled up. So we are, and if you have more suggestions, please, that's why we advocated for our own center to be able to, be creative, be visionary, work collaboratively together. Unfortunately, there are those that work in silos, they have their own preferences. Shame on them. Shame on them for not working as a team, not working together as a community. So we'll get through it.
Do you have, over the 5 years, total number of enrollees? Like, was it 100, 150
For
for the school?
Yeah, so for each of the,
Is that in the booklet?
yes,
Okay, I'll look for it later.
yes. And, yeah, of the 128 graduates, it's a 94% graduation rate. So
Okay.
that would be like maybe 150 started, 128 finished. And I will say if a student stops out and maybe doesn't complete a program, it doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity to return later on.
I was just curious, but I'll look it up.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
do that. We also, again, we control what happens and to ensure that people are moving forward. That's what WEPA stands for, by the way. W is working, E is to empower, P is for people, and A is to advance,
What was
That-
the A?
advance.
Advance. Okay.
Let's stop creating barriers. Actually, I just told my team yesterday, and I'll say it publicly, if you see a barrier, go right through it. Go over it, go under it, left flank it, right flank it, whatever it is that you gotta do not stop. Keep pushing. We're on the right track.
Thanks for the warning.
Sorry. That's my Marine mentality comes. I am a
Hey,
Marine.
you have a great
You won't
team.
get
We
me fired.
appreciate it, everything you guys do.
Thank you,
all.
folks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, but
Or any one of the principals. So did you set goals 5 years ago and have benchmarks that you wanted to achieve? And did you fail to achieve them? Did you achieve them or did you exceed them and why? What were the factors that allowed you to either not achieve those goals, meet them or exceed them? You understand?
No, absolutely. Actually, if you look at her and it's public information, I had a business plan. And the business plan had 1, 3, 5, 10-year benchmarks. By the time we got to year number 2, everybody started seeing results from the 3-year goal and the 5-year goal. So we've far exceeded all of those things. Our challenges is that the reason that you don't see like the building already done, it's just, there's a lot of this going on with, too much over regulation, what I mean? And I get it too, but dang, now go on, let's get it done. The impact report does provide a lot of that background information. This one, my right-hand woman, she was one of those that was doubting the process. And I said to her, look at the 1, 3, 5, and the 10-year. If we're at year number 3, I said to her, we're okay. We're well on our track. By year 1.5, she said, we've already exceeded year number 3 goals. So just to get that comfort level from the co-founder, my wife, that's all I needed. You know, I needed to be able to get that reassurance from her that we were okay, but I had to spell it out. I did it with Commissioner Bob Phillips. I did it with Commissioner Joel Litz when I first presented the plan. And, you know, rest his soul, Commissioner Bill Ames. Raphael, what's your plan? Let me hear about it. Remember that? And he was so excited. Workforce training, you know, a VOTEC teacher. He's like, oh, you want to do one of those? Let's go. So absolutely, we're
We all
on the
had
way. We just,
sledgehammers.
what's that?
We all had sledgehammers.
Yes. I'll get you another sledgehammer for our elevator staircase down.
For Melissa, do you have a job that you said about graduating? Are you currently employed?
I am. Well, before I actually started with WEPA, I work in home care. I do home care privately, but I also started at Juniper in an assisted living place. So, I'm already employed, but like I said before, going to WEPA and attaining my certification, one, I wanted it for my own personal, because I already work in healthcare. Two, it will help me advance, you know, if I want to go on this, like LPN school or any school.
I just follow up on two of the things here. The lien, we've talked about that before. I can't speak for the commissioners, but to do that is just a very simple document the solicitor can prepare. They would act on it and that would lift the lien. If you recall, back when you first started, you know, that was protection of sorts for the county that in case something, and Maribel wasn't doubting at that time. That's not why we did it. But that was in case something went sideways, the county would still, you know, have rights to the building. But I think after 5 years, you know, you've proven that pretty well. So I don't anticipate that being an issue. The elevator environmental review, I'm not sure whether that's the county's place or not. If you have a little more information on that, we can see if that's something that the county or the city signs off on. Yep. Thanks.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, we will now proceed to our second item on the agenda, but if, again, I could lay some groundwork here just for everybody's knowledge and information. This is a workshop session, so we do not take any action on any items at a workshop session. It's simply to learn information and an opportunity for commissioners to ask additional detailed questions if we have any questions regarding this. And we normally do not allow or invite public comment, but that we don't normally have this kind of turnout public. So we will allow, but I'm going to suggest that if somebody wants to make a comment, because I continue to get letters and emails of people that have a strong opinion about this issue, and we certainly want people to have a voice to be able to express those opinions, but I'd rather if we waited till they had a chance to present information, because that's what this is all about, to present accurate information and maybe correct any misinformation that might be out there about the project. And one final thing is, at this point in time, commissioners have no say in where any of these facilities might go in our community. That's a decision that's made at the municipal level. So with that, gentlemen, I'd ask you to introduce yourselves for the record, and then you may proceed.
Joe Eisenhower. Is this microphone? Okay, Joe Eisenhower. I'm with Ancient Code Development Group. We're based out of York County. I'm a local Lebanon County native, live in Manheim right now. I'm the project developer for the South Anvil Township Data Center. With me is Gary McKee. He's our technical expert, and Gary could just say a few words about his background.
Hi, Gary McKee. I'm an engineering and operations expert for data centers. I have been involved in data center projects similar size to this across the country in Arizona and Nevada and Illinois, and some closer here as well.
I'm gonna, if I can hand these to Jamie, I guess, to hand out to each of you. So sorry about the crowded room. I tend to travel with a lot of attention these days, but what I'm handing out right now is both a kind of memo fact sheet, if you will, that we'll talk through, and then also a very concept preliminary plan for what we're proposing. So what you see before you, and I only printed 3 copies, I apologize.
It's okay, we can share.
What you're looking at there is the corner of Mount Pleasant Road and 422 on the west side of the Quittapahilla Creek. This is in South Anvil Township. I currently have under contract approximately 98 acres of land. The majority of that land is zoned industrial and commercial. Then there is about 10 acres of land that's zoned agricultural. What we are proposing is a data center, but when I say a data center, there's actually 5 buildings that we're contemplating. Ultimately, this is just essentially rectangles on a paper. I've not conducted a formal survey yet to determine what can be built or where it can be built. I believe this is a fairly accurate approximation of what we expect to see. A couple of things to note. Again, there are 5 buildings. They range in size anywhere from 110,000 square feet to 150,000 square feet. They will more or less look like a warehouse from the outside. They are about 50 feet to the roof line. And then there's another 10-foot high concrete parapet wall that surrounds the roof. So it'll be about 60 feet up, but 50 feet to the roof. In discussions with South Anvil Township, one of the critical components to any development of this site is the realignment of Mount Pleasant Road. So you'll note that Mount Pleasant Road, which currently is a very rough intersection with 422 immediately adjacent to the creek, that is proposed to be realigned to connect with the driveway location for the 911 rapid response building. That will of course trigger some work with PennDOT. We have yet to go through that exercise, but there'll be a PennDOT traffic impact study that we have to conduct along with HOP design work. And when I say HOP, that's highway occupancy permit design work to make sure that the intersection geometry works. I don't expect that this will trigger a signal because the truck traffic from this facility will be very minimal, but we have to determine that through the study. What I often tell people, and I do this for a living now for 20 plus years in development, when you as a driver interact with an intersection, you may think it deserves a signal, or there should be a signal here, or a left turn lane. But PennDOT has governance, over all signals in Pennsylvania. Unless you meet at least 5 criteria, and that's history of crashes, speed, sight distance, visibility, geometry of the road, you may not warrant a signal. So I'm dealing with a community out in Greencastle that they really think there should be a signal there, but the warrants don't meet it. But ultimately, whatever needs to be done, we'll do that. When we first approached the township about this, Mount Pleasant Road was critical, but they had expressed a lack of interest in future development that would increase the already taxed road system from a truck network capacity. So the upside to these facilities is that truck traffic is almost non-existent. We expect after construction for there to be about 1 to 2 trucks on average per month. So as opposed to a distribution facility where you have constant truck traffic now choking up the square in Anvil, we expect this to be very normal. The other consideration that the township had expressed in feedback from the residents was no more students in the schools. There's been a large housing boom in South Anvil. The Anvil-Clona School District has borne the brunt of that. So this facility will not create any new students to the schools. When built, it will be fully protected from a security standpoint. There will be fire suppression systems built inside of this. We don't expect a tremendous increase or a burden upon the local public services as far as police and fire. So again, very minimal impact from a community services standpoint, and that includes the school district. So that's kind of the site plan. The process I'm going through at the township right now is a zoning map amendment and then an ordinance adoption. So a couple key things to note there. The Pennsylvania Municipal Planning Code requires that all uses recognized by the state of Pennsylvania at the Commonwealth level be permitted in all municipalities. So that's why you have certain considered nuisance regulations, whether it's adult-oriented and entertainment, quarries, landfills. Every municipality has a place for them, and every ordinance addresses them. If you do not have an ordinance that addresses it, then it's considered what's called a use not provided for. And in that case, is there water anywhere that I might be able to have? It's just so stuffy in here.
It costs a buck.
You know what? Put it on my tab and I'll be glad to pay for it. And I apologize for sending the commissioner off to serve me. This heat kind of caught up with all of us, I think. 85 degrees out of nowhere. I'll wait till Bob comes back. Sorry, everybody. Didn't expect him to have to go that far to get it. Apologies.
It's only around the corner.
Sound like the Turkey Hill.
Oh, man. So sorry.
Yeah, right across the room.
I hope you didn't put a sleeping agent in there. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Maybe 50 cents.
Much better. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're welcome.
As I was saying, a use not provided for can be built through a process known as a special exception. And this is like municipal government 101 here, but when you go that route, essentially you can put a use not provided for anywhere in the township, as long as you comply with special exception criteria. Townships, because data centers are such a new use, don't have a language in their ordinances to affect them. So rather than pursue that option, which other data centers are pursuing statewide to go use not provided for, we have engaged with the township to try to work on an ordinance that can be mutually beneficial, because it has to be addressed somehow. We had a hearing last week, and the township solicitor said it's not as simple as just saying no data centers can be built in the township, because that would be illegal. So we're trying to work with the township. We've crafted some language, offered it to them. They've responded to that language with some additional comments. They're still engaged on it. So that's step one. Step two is a map amendment. So approximately the property is split half and half industrial and commercial. There's about 49 acres of the property that's commercial that has to be rezoned to industrial. Okay, thank you. Good idea. The township, during the initial ordinance preparation phase, had said that they wanted this to live in their industrial zone. They didn't want it to be in commercial because they have really the choice. So we are proposing a text amendment and then an ordinance map amendment to make the property commercial. As opposed to that, as a part of that, excuse me, I mentioned that 10 acres are ag. We are proposing to make that 10 acres industrial, but in the process, rezone 15 acres of industrial into ag. So what that results in is actually a net increase of zoned agricultural area in the township by 2 acres. So after all is said and done with the zoning swaps, South Anvil will actually have more ag zone land, and they already have the most ag zone land in the county. They'll actually have the most by 2 additional acres beyond the current zoning map. Something else to speak to is the difference between ag land and farmland. So the zoning map has identified this property as industrial and commercial for, I want to say, 3 decades. This is the location where South Anvil has said we want growth. To their credit, they're very proud of the ag land that they have. Even though this land is farmed, it is industrial and commercial land from a zoning perspective, which is an important distinction to recognize. The ag land that the township has in their zoning map and their zoning ordinance, again, will actually increase. So I just wanted to make sure that that's understood. The other document I handed out is just kind of a fact sheet, which speaks to some of the critical concerns that people have, which is the 8.5 by 11. So I wanted to allow Gary to explain to you what a data center actually is. As I said, it's a warehouse on the outside, but what happens inside, what is the operations of this facility? I wanted to give you guys a good understanding of what this facility actually looks like. So Gary, if you could just explain a little bit.
Thank you. Yeah, so like Joe said, data center looks similar to a warehouse. Basically houses a bunch of computers. So when you save something in the cloud, or you're working on an application that runs in the cloud, those computers that run those applications and hold those stored things are in data centers. The data center basically it has several pieces of equipment in it, cooling systems and power distribution and power storage. Basically make sure that the computers can stay on and stay connected to the internet, not overheat, is what most of the equipment is associated with. So it's basically a building with security that houses a bunch of servers. And that's what most of the operations inside the data center is dedicated to, is keeping the servers on, connected to the internet, not overheating. And then there would also be some personnel that would be associated with what's running on the servers and, replacing different computer equipment. So there's security personnel, there's engineering and operations personnel, and there is software, hardware personnel that would be at the site at any given time. I think at any given time, there'd probably be around 50 to 100 people there. If there's some kind of event, there may be more people there, but in a given day, there'd probably be around 50 to 100 people.
Yeah, so again, the concerns that we had heard through discussions with the township were about traffic, principally. So this is a significantly less impact than a warehouse. It's significantly less impact than a commercial shopping center. You have about 50 to 100 jobs that I believe are jobs that are appropriate for a CTC graduate to attain. We've already been in discussions with South Danville County School District on doing some co-op programs when this thing gets up and running. But these are not jobs that are going to go to someone who necessarily has to come from a college or can't be found, right here in Lebanon. Not that there aren't college graduates here as well, but it's a regional employment opportunity that are good paying jobs, stable jobs for county residents and for township residents.
Yeah, and sorry to add to that, some of the most valuable skill sets to data centers just in general across the country is electrical work, steam fitting, HVAC, there's a lot of equipment in these buildings. So there's I'm sure you see in the news, there's a shortage of people and all that. So, and that's all true. So there would be a lot of that work associated with building the data center as well as operating the data center.
Good. So when we bring up the word data center, and obviously there's a lot of folks here who are concerned when you think of three specific things: noise, water, and power. The document I put together, or Gary actually put this together in front of you, kind of speaks to all those things. And we want to start with power. Yes, the data center is a high power demand. There's no argument with that. What I put together on the back of the first page of the document you're looking at is a representation of what's known as the PJM power grid. And this is a regional grid that stretches across 13 states. So you can see it goes from Illinois on the west, all the way over to the Atlantic side of New Jersey, and then down to the southern end of Virginia into North Carolina, and then up to the top of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So power is distributed throughout that grid by the PJM system. And when it comes to the cost of power, those costs are also spread throughout the grid. The Pennsylvania PUC regulates the cost of power in Pennsylvania, and I believe that Governor Shapiro put some sort of a price cap in place through 2030 for PUC regulated power costs. But ultimately, any new data center inside of that grid, any new housing development, any new hospital, any new warehouse or manufacturing facility that comes online, the costs are felt throughout the grid, not just in that specific location where the facility was constructed. That goes again for data centers as well. So a data center built in Dayton, Ohio, is going to have an impact on us in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. A data center built in Middletown or Lancaster or Dauphin County, Londonderry Township is going to have an impact on us. The only difference is, does the impact get felt and there is no ancillary benefit, or do we just forget it and act like that has not been a negative impact across the board? So we understand the concern and also the confusion. There are things that can be done, and Gary will speak on it here in a second, about power. Whether the software that we use or the technology that we use can have a plus or a minus on the amount of power that gets drawn from the grid to this facility. But at the same time, it's important to note that no one would ever say that this will not increase your power, because everything that happens will increase your power. This is part of the overall process. So can you speak to any kind of power related concerns on data centers?
Yeah. So there's two aspects to powering the data center. One is getting the wires to the site. We would be responsible for paying the full cost of on-site substation and actually running those wires with the local utility. And then there's the electrons that need to run through the wires to the site from generation facilities throughout the PJM region. PJM manages those electrons, and there's a long process where you have to go through basically getting a load request or a new generation request onto the PJM system. And we have been, in that process for quite some time, having conversations with the local utility and planning the power delivery, basically to understand what would be required and what we would have to mitigate in the electrical on the wires themselves. And then the generation, the electrons that run through it is a piece that kind of is where Joe was saying it's interconnected across the whole 13 state region. So and if enough load gets added, like obviously you need to add generation and there's costs associated with that, and then that kind of gets spread out across the grid. So just to try to kind of explain the inner workings of how the data center is powered, how it affects us here, we'd see the power get routed to the site, we'd see where the substation is and things like that. But the electrons that run through them, there's a kind of complicated bureaucracy behind the scenes that does a decent job of managing it. I think it could be better, but it works.
And as part of our process, we have to engage with MedEd First Energy on a load study, which is going to tell us what infrastructure upgrades need to be done by us in order to get power there. So there's no cost borne by the public on getting the power to the system. That's all costs that we will know once we complete the load study, which will happen after we get through the zoning exercise. So the other thing to keep in mind is water. I don't really have a specific section on water, but Gary will explain to you just how water is utilized in the facility, and then some thoughts that we have on how to address water when it comes to operations.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the three main things that are happening in the facility to support the server operations is to keep them on, keep them from overheating, and keep them connected to the internet. So to keep them from overheating, you have to remove the heat from the room. So the servers are running, they're consuming power, they're generating heat. So say you've got an air conditioner on the side of the room that puts out 70-degree air, goes through the servers, 90-degree air comes back. There's chilled water in that coil that heats up from 65 degrees to 80 degrees, something like that. The 80-degree water goes to the roof, where we have cooling units that are capable of rejecting that heat to the outside air using no water at all. And that is our kind of standard basis of design. But we have the ability to add on a system that is called an adiabatic system, but it basically improves energy efficiency and uses some water. So, you know, we're evaluating the ability to use that. It's not required for the operations of the facility, but we've had some conversations with PA Water. There's sounds like there's a mutual benefit of us kind of building a loop system that would serve our site. We also have needs for water for, you know, landscaping, kitchens, bathrooms. So there's just standard needs, but it would be like a normal office building kind of water use. And we've also talked to the water treatment plant across the street about using the plant effluent in the industry. It's called Purple Water. It's a common program in markets like Ashburn and Santa Clara, places like that, where we use non-potable water for those cooling needs in order to just improve the energy efficiency some. And it kind of gets you maybe like 10 or 15%, you know, during the summertime. So it's a pretty significant amount of energy savings, and it's kind of complicated. In order to generate the power, you oftentimes have to cool those systems as well. So it's kind of a, you know, where you're using it sort of question. So we have a basis of design that allows us to use no water. We're evaluating the ability to use water responsibly to improve our energy efficiency. And those conversations seem promising. Like the plant has capacity to potentially serve any of the needs that we would need with that energy efficiency system. And it doesn't sound like it would strain the local water system for the potable water either, if we need that for backup.
Inside of the ordinance that we've worked with South Anvil to create, they've stipulated that we cannot draw any water from the ground. So there's no wells that we're going to sink and affect the water supply underground. We can't draw any water from the creek, directly from the foot of the hill of the creek. So we have no intention on doing either of those two things. The water will either come from the public water supply through PA American Water, which I recognize at some point starts in the creek. But ultimately it'll come from the water supplier, or as Gary said, potentially from the sewage treatment plant using effluent discharge, which is an idea I'm excited about because it's a byproduct at that point anyway. So for us to pipe that directly across the street into our non-potable water lines is an attractive option for the project. Third consideration that's uniquely critical to this is noise. A lot of people are concerned about what will this thing sound like? How will it affect my quality of life? Generally, what should I expect? So the township ordinance currently in the industrial zone has a standard of 72 decibels at the property line for sound limits. You can't exceed that. We actually, in a chart that I have in the document here, at the property line, the sound is approximately 45 to 55 decibels for the standard data center. The other thing to keep in note is not all data centers are created equal. So some data centers that have been in operation for decades may represent the worst potential noise, water, and power violators that you can imagine. But as technology is caught up with everything, technology continues to improve for data centers. So accordingly, a 45 to 55 decibel sound at the property line is generally equivalent to a refrigerator home. Now, there's additional things that we're doing, looking into to mitigate sound. Number one, the sound is on the roof for the most part, and that sound's going to be behind a 10-foot concrete parapet wall around the entirety of the building. Number two, we've engaged with the township to establish landscape berms, approximately 8 to 10 feet high, with some evergreen permanent plantings on top, which will not only mitigate and buffer the view shed, but it will also mitigate and buffer sound. We are committed to work with the township to conduct pre and post sound studies to say this is what the current decibel level is at the property line before we start. This is what it is when we're done. And then what can we do to work with the township after it's completed to make sure that we are addressing sound as much as possible. I recognize that this is new territory for the township and for the county. I recognize that there's concerns there is technology that exists and ways that we can position some of the sound making equipment so that we can direct sound to the west, which is into the industrial park where the DHL facility is. And I think there's another big warehouse there. So we can do everything we can to try to push sound away from any residential or occupied areas in the township. Is there anything on sound that I'm missing?
No, I mean, as Joe explained, we would do a sound study to understand what it is today. We would do a simulation. There's very established software systems that are used for this to show what the sound would be after completion. Some of the things that you hear about fans and motors, you know, there are a lot of industries that use fans and motors, and there's a lot of industries that can generate noise. I will say that the technologies we plan to use at this facility would not have, we would test the full decibel range, and we're confident that there would be no issue. If there is any issue that comes up in the sound study of the simulated, what it would look like afterwards, then we would mitigate that in design before we actually build anything.
And that does include all sound frequencies, low frequency, as well as audible sound. So we're prepared to address that, and the ordinance speaks to it. We have not fought or argued against any sound-related regulations the townships attempted to put in. The last thing I wanted to just go over is the tax ramifications of this. So we are not seeking a LRTA or a TIF. And the way LRTA and TIF work is you either pursue it before you start or you don't get it. At some point, somebody way down the line could seek to have their tax assessment evaluated. But for now, we are not seeking that. So what we're proposing is that all the tax benefit that comes from this go directly into the taxing bodies. The project itself amounts to a $1.7 billion investment by my team into the community. We took our schedule of values and gave it to the local county tax assessment office and said, how would you tax this? Because again, it's such a new technology and a new facility, it's unclear. They came back and they derived a taxable value of, should get it right, approximately $740 million at full build out. And at full build out, I project would be, if we started next year after I get through all the planning process, it would be probably 2028 to 2029 until we are at full build out. So a taxable assessed value of $740,271,000. And what that means based on the current millage rates is that the county would receive $3.4 million annually from this facility. The school district would receive $13.4 million annually from this facility. And the township would receive approximately $747,000 annually. That's almost double what the current township tax base brings in, township wide. So that would come directly from this one facility. That's almost 40% of the school district budget. Those are significant tax dollars that go to those taxing bodies. And again, that comes with no new trucks, no new students, no draw on public services from fire and water. And we're realigning Mount Pleasant Road, and we're making contributions for Park and Rec in the township. So there's significant investment by my team, and there's significant benefit that's derived to the community. Just a couple real quick things. As I said, I still have quite a process ahead of me. We have to go through zoning, which is going to take a couple months. Once the zoning is in place, I have to go through a conditional use process. Conditional use is going to take about 60 to 90 days, depending on advertisement. And then I have a full land development plan process ahead of us, which is compliance with the county and township stormwater management, subdivision land development, and zoning ordinances before I have a plan. I'm also separately working with PennDOT in the middle of that, as I noted, and the Lebanon County Conservation District as well. So we intend to comply with all ordinances when it comes to land development. And When we get our permits, then it's gonna be about an 18-month process to get that first building online. And we're gonna continue to work through that until all 5 buildings are complete, assuming we can lay it all out from a topographical perspective. Thank you for the water. That's a lifesaver. That's all we had to say to the commissioners. If you have any technical questions, I'd be happy, or Gary would be happy to answer them at this time.
I have a list, so if you want me to go last, I will, but, okay. I'm going to start with which in my opinion is probably the toughest question I'm going to ask. And I don't mean it to be mean or condescending, but my experiences as former president of the Swatara Watershed Association for 33 years. We were sued one time by a company that wanted to put in a landfill above us, where the effluent would flow into the Swatara Creek eventually. And we had to lobby to get wetlands to treat the water and things before it got that far. But the biggest thing that came out of that was as soon as they got the permit, they sold it to a large company. And so they were really front men. Does this mirror anything that you would be looking at? Will you be the sole owner of Inch Company forever, or were you planning to sell that?
I am a partner with the Easton Group, which is out of Miami. They will be the eventual owners.
So then you would withdraw from it.
Yes.
And will you get paid at that point?
Oh, there would be a transaction on the land, yes.
Okay, thank you. The next question deals with the water that you're talking about using from the sewage treatment plant. Is that going to require new lines to be run, and will that shut down 422? Are you going to use some other existing lines? Tell me about that.
There would be new pipes that run to our facilities to actually utilize the water. We've had some very preliminary conversations with the plant about it. It sounds like there's existing service that does already run under 422 that we may be able to tap into. But we've had like, they're very preliminary conversations. We've just like, is it an option, you know? And then obviously there'd be a lot of engineering associated with what the actual service would look like.
Well, then I'm going to go to the power. Are you going to include solar on the roof and generate your own power so we don't have rolling blackouts because this power station takes so much energy?
So because of the facility design with the fans and chillers on the roof, there's not a lot of room for solar. We are not opposed to putting solar on the roof. I just want to make sure that the expectations managed, that it's not going to be enough to do anything more than maybe power the lights in the facility, but we will pursue that option.
You will pursue solar.
Mhm.
Okay. And again, with the lines that are carrying water, they tend to leak and or break. And that is all limestone soil, which then if it's underground, it's going to create sinkholes. If it's not on your property where it breaks and leaks, whose responsibility is it? Do you take care of it all the way to wherever it's going, these lines? Or do property owners become liable?
I'm not sure I know what lines you're referring to.
Well, you're bringing water from the sewer treatment plant for one. If those lines break, whose and cause sinkholes, whose responsibility is it to repair everything?
We haven't really engaged with the sewer treatment plant. I would assume they'll require some sort of agreement for use of the water. So at that point, if they ask for it, we would bond it or make commitments to repairs. But then on site, we're gonna design the facilities, the stormwater management facilities in a way that's compliant with all the township ordinances. So if those require any lining or amended soils, anything that's required from the conservation district to mitigate the need or the concern for sinkholes is what we'll do.
And you talked about moving Mount Pleasant Road. Is that going to require any eminent domain?
No,
You're not going to take anybody's property.
correct.
I listened to a program at a county commissioners conference by the vice president of the PUC. And she was very articulate, extremely knowledgeable. And one of the questions I personally asked was, if it catches fire, should the firemen try and put it out, or are there going to be chemicals being emitted that would harm them, whatever? And her words were, let it burn. And that scared me. It really did. I don't know if you've heard that before, but I guess I'm concerned for our people. If the chemicals are in the air, the firemen are going to be the closest, 911 or hazmat team. And then, of course, the surrounding communities and the people in their homes. And I know you used the word computers are in these, but they're really tower racks. They're not like real little computers like people would imagine a laptop or something like that. And the other thing, are you willing to put up a bond for the full price of your construction?
Typically, when we're bonding on the improvement side, it's for site work. There's no bond for the vertical construction, so we would bond for the site work, which is a common requirement.
Well, I know that we've had an outfit in Palmyra. I think it was a printing company. I don't know the name, so I won't get in trouble saying it, but they left town and there was all kinds of contaminants inside. And if the bond wasn't there, in other words, if your towers are left inside and for some reason people, not you, but the people that buy from, they leave town, there has to be a bond.
Right.
Because if you don't have that, the taxpayers end up paying that bill on top of it.
I think you're referring to a decommissioning bond.
Okay, yes, decommissioning.
Yes. If that's in the ordinance, we'll do it. I don't believe that it's in the current version, but we're not opposed to that.
You're not opposed to that.
The
So if the township supervisors or the county pass an ordinance requiring 100% bond, you would be willing to put that up?
I'd be willing to put up the decommissioning bond. I don't quite
Yes.
know what that, if it's 100% of the building or 100% of the equipment, I don't quite know what.
Well,
covered in that.
yeah, going to give you the wrong county. A county just passed an ordinance, a countywide ordinance, and that is the last thing in their presentation. So it's available quite readily online for you to read that and get a better understanding, because I am not an expert. I am not an attorney or anything like that. These are just concerns that I've heard people talk about, but also I've read about or asked questions about. So the other question I have is, if the county has an industrial area, okay, I'm going to just say 50 acres for the heck of it, and they have utilized all that land, are they required to make more industrial land? Or as long as they have it, even though it's full, is that sufficient?
The
The
township,
county, you mean the municipality?
The municipality, yes, thank you.
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if having a designated area satisfies the need to provide for that zoning type, or if you need more. I do think I've seen it where if there's not an available spot for, say, an apartment building, because all the apartment land has been utilized, that developers can appeal for a rezone on that basis. But I don't know if they were obligated to zone for
To do it.
additional land. Yeah, I
Okay.
do not know that.
All right. Those are my last thing is, that because you are under the county's inspection, and Julie and her team are going to have to come out and inspect before you're done. So during the building process, and you correct me if I'm wrong, after it's done, and, you know, we could possibly have to hire additional staff or whatever if she gets, you don't think you'd have to? Okay, but if there would be multiple data centers, would we have to go back and inspect multiple times?
That would be, I mean, that's gonna be part of the land development. Once the land development, plan is approved, you'll probably do this in phases. We will bond for the entirety of all of the improvements. As improvements are done and completed, we can reduce that bond, but we will hold a bond in place until everything is completed. So that oftentimes can take many years until we get to the end of that, but we will not release the bond until everything is completed in compliance with the land development plan.
Okay,
Are you referring to land development or to the building and the structure itself? They're two different reviews.
well, that's the whole point. There's so much involved. And I'm afraid that we're gonna come up on the short end with our staff if we start getting a lot of these requests.
I mean, if we're talking about, I mean, land development, if we're talking about land development versus decommissioning, if the municipality puts something in their regulations related to decommissioning, that will be held by the township under the regulations.
So the township would hold
The
it. Okay,
township would hold that, we would hold the land development portion of the bond.
okay.
And all the inspections are covered in the permit fee. We secure a building permit for the building. And then to Jen's point, there will be a bond that I'll have, but then I get bills for inspections all the time for everything. So stormwater will be inspected before the bond's released. Sewer, water, everything will be typical from a land development perspective.
Mhm.
And the permit would be tied to a design, so we would be working closely with city staff during that process. And by the time that we get the permit for a given design, then there's obviously they're comfortable with inspecting what we've asked, what we've designed at that point. So we would go through that process after the site plan process.
Well, I could go on, but there's other questions, other people in the room that are thinking other things. So you've hit my main topics. I just will comment that I would see benefit in the county adopting, because you didn't ask for it. I thought somebody might, I didn't know what your whole presentation was today. But I can see us adopting a general plan ordinance that would cover this. And then if a municipality wants to adopt it, they could. But one of the things that was in the other counties was that the maximum building height was 35 feet. And you're talking 50, 60 feet. And so there is some just, you know, things don't all match up with what you're doing. And so those are some of the things we have no control over necessarily, but I think it would be nice to have something counties could adopt, I mean, municipalities could adopt if they want to, so they don't have to do it all themselves. And every lawyer has to get involved at every municipality, and they have to pay to advertise and all the things that come with it. Sorry about that, Lebanon Daily News, but I'm just trying to be efficient. And so that's something I'd like to look at in the future with my colleagues.
I can speak to a couple of things. So I think PSATs at the state level has developed a model ordinance.
Mhm.
The township solicitor's name is Joselle Cleary. She's
Oh, I know Joselle.
well
Yeah.
regarded.
She's from Myerstown.
Is she from Marshtown? Well, she's
If it-
well regarded and represents quite a number of municipalities, so she's directly been engaged with this process. So before you spin the county's wheels on an ordinance, you might just want to check PSATs just
Okay.
to see that. I know that they put some stuff together.
But still, each municipality would then have to do it, where if the county did it, they could just opt into ours if they wanted to, right?
I'm not sure that's how that process works.
The township would still have to adopt.
I'm sorry,
The township would still need to adopt.
We don't have the authority.
adopt ours though, instead of making their whole own.
Yeah, but they would still have to go through the process, municipal level.
Yes.
And then something else you mentioned about fire. Obviously, I've never seen a burning data center, so I can't tell you what chemicals are released or not. But we are committed through the township to work with the local fire departments to make sure that they have training and appropriate equipment in the event a fire does break out that can address that. And then lastly, the building is compliant with the township zoning height standards.
Is that where you got that height?
It actually, in that township, in that zone, it can go up to 100.
Are you going to have more than one level in the building, like 2 floors? Or are you gonna have tower racks that high?
No, the plan that we've been, that it is 2-story buildings,
2
2-story.
2 floors? Wow.
And there is no ask. We came here purely as an informational gesture to make sure that you at the county commissioners level know what's going on. We respect the board, we respect the township, we respect the county, we respect all the people here. We're trying to get information out that we think is helpful. And I recognize that taking my word for it and just saying trust me is not good enough. We are putting together some data points to address all these critical concerns in a way that makes sense. But the takeaway today, I hope, is that there are things that can be done by us and by the township to make sure that this is a minimally invasive project. If you be mindful that this land is industrial, and it could be a quarry, it could be another warehouse, it could be anything. What we're trying to do is address some concerns at the township level, provide a service here for all of us who use our cell phones.
I guess I'll just close with this. There is an open quarry, which is a safety hazard to our community, right next door at the 911 rapid response. And as I understand it, he asked permission to close that, and he could not get permission to close that. It seems to me, rather than running across 422, if your neighbor is willing, that might be a resource you should at least look into.
Everything's on the table, and I'm very familiar with that quarry. Mark at 911 is on my list of people to call. So I'm willing to work with him to the extent that he wants my help to try to address that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information, Jamie. Do you have any questions about anything?
Do we have the sign-in sheet? Who has that? If you could put it forward, please, on the table. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, there's nothing else you have. There's nothing you have. I'm gonna allow for some public comment. You care to stay, or you may excuse yourselves. I know, but have other things on your schedule.
I do have a Little League practice to get to, so I will step out. Again, thank you for your time and your open mind, and thank you for the water.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Excuse me. I have a question for you, Mr. Eisenhower. You had mentioned that.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, but as I explained at the very beginning, this is a time for us to answer questions. You're gonna have time for public comment. But allow them, they have schedules too, so I'm gonna respect that and allow any public comment that you want now at this time. Thanks. We can, final questions to them if you'd like, but I have to make them stay. So, and anybody that would like to make a comment or a question first, hold your hands. You will be recognized. We ask you to stand and state your name and where your home is, what municipality, and then you may have the floor. And ask you to try to be as brief as possible. So you may start, ma'am.
My name is Roberta Gerhardt. I am a Lebanon County resident my entire life. Love it here. Never planned on moving. We live in South Danville. We heard a lot a week ago. Joellen, thank you for asking a lot of questions.
Oh, you're welcome.
And for my ears, it's the first that I've heard in our meeting, except for the residents of South Danville. You're concerned about the residents. So thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. Because some of us live, I tried to do some homework. There's about 3,200 residents in South Danville. Some of us live in the bullseye, meaning we were told a mile in radius is a lot of things. He had mentioned, and I apologize for trying to interrupt, because we went to a meeting. We did not get a fact sheet in regard to residual effects of things. I will say South Anvil residents sure did their homework at the meeting. And I was very proud to say that I live in South Anvil, as I'm proud to say I'm a Lebanon County resident. But we got no fact sheet. Everybody knows Indian Town Gap. We can hear that noise from way up, way. My husband and I, as the crow flies, happen to be a half a mile away from where they're going to start it. And you brought up a lot of other good bullet points. We already know some of the things that came up. I think he understands how the residents feel, and I think there's going to probably be more that he'll understand later, because there's a lot of residents. I'll be honest, we haven't talked to anybody in South Anvil that has said they're okay. A lot of people want to move out. It's a shame. So that being said, we sure would be able to get that fact sheet from him. But we've also done a lot of homework on our own to read up on the residual effects of what could happen to us, because we're a part of Lebanon County.
Yes.
And if we don't want it to come to Lebanon either. My son and my daughter-in-law, my grandchild, lives in North Lebanon. Say no. Do your homework, guys. Say no. Be Lebanon proud. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chair, Dean Wolf, Anvil Township. Okay, Joe Ellen, I don't know if you were involved in that 5-6 years ago when they did a traffic study from Royal Road all the way out north.
Know what you mean.
Okay, so supposedly this realigning Mount Pleasant Road was already a done deal with a 3-way traffic signal. So they're making this sound like this is just gonna be a road for their trucks, which is not true. I live right across from there at the corner, at the bridge. I can sit there and at night, the traffic from 2:30 to 6 o'clock is horrible. One night I sat there, looked out my window, and I'll bet they were lined up from 422 to Regard's Lane. So now he's saying 1 or 2 trucks a month. I understand that. But what about all the regular traffic that runs that road? The other thing is, he's saying about we'll divert the noise to the west. Now, I'm pretty sure you're aware DHL leased out the building behind Rudders. And they distinctly said, we're building 2 more warehouses there. So now if they're 40, 50, 60 feet high, and you divert that noise over there, isn't it going to bounce off those buildings, come back over? And the last thing is, what were you talking about with the quarry hole there, rapid response? Drawing water out of there?
I didn't know if that was an option, because if they go across the road, I see problems that way as well as there. So I don't know, but he wanted to fill it in and they wouldn't let him. And I don't understand that. It's a safety hazard.
That's a big issue with the state.
Yeah.
They have the say on that kind of stuff. But to let them go and fill that in and draw water out
No,
there.
nobody's talking about that. We were talking about, we were there a year or so ago on a tour. Or they had a new vehicle for the county and we were all up there, and he shared that with us, that he attempted to contact the state and get permission, but he couldn't.
So he's saying the height of these buildings are what, 60, 70 feet?
60.
So if you want to make a comparison, go over to the old Branks Mill there, the mill, the concrete towers, they're probably about that height. So that's what you're looking at height wise. So that's, you know, with the
Yeah.
water thing, I know Lebanon City pumps effluent down to Ironwood from their sewer plant, treated water. And I guess that's what they were looking at with the Anvil sewer plant.
Oh,
But if they do it, I agree, they gotta do it right. Have you driven through Anvil lately?
Mhm.
So the electric upgrade's already there. I live right there. They already replaced my pole. The wires are like this now. Yeah, they're pulling all new wires down there. So they're saying, you know, with the electric, I'm just looking, this is a done deal. Sadly, you know, like I said, I live right across. And the other thing I was disappointed in was at the high school meeting, Anvil residents were not allowed to speak.
Yes.
I understand that, but people got up and they were saying here today with the traffic in Anvil's horrible. But we can't get, ask me, I go to every township meeting. We can't get nowhere. That's, something's gonna have to be done. So that's all I gotta say.
thank you.
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
I'm gonna stand over here so I can see everything. My name's Laura Warner. I'm a resident of South Anvil. And a couple of things that I wanted to point out. They talk about these decibels,
If
55
you come
decibels.
over here closer to the microphone, we could hear you.
Sorry,
That's all right. Thank you.
You're a star now.
Is this on?
Yes.
Laura Warner. I'm a resident of South Anvil. And I just wanted to say, they talk about these decibels, 55 decibels. But you have to remember, there's 5 buildings. These buildings add up to over 500,000 square feet.
3/4.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy. That's crazy. And he also talked about truck traffic. Well, let me tell you, I guess they're not using any trucks to bring in the cement. They're not using any trucks for any of the building. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of trucks. It takes a lot of trucks to build 3/4 of a million square feet. That's a lot of trucks. I mean, that's a lot of noise. That's a lot of traffic. And you know what? I've been doing a lot of online research. And if anybody wants to know what it's like to live near a data center, just go online. Just go online. You can hear it humming. I live a half a mile from this proposed site. And it is a monstrosity. And it's invasive. And it's not something that I want to be exposed to. And I'm sure I haven't met anybody that lives in South Anvil that is on board with this. No one. And what's really concerning is that this gentleman said that after he gets paid, he's gone. So who's going to be responsible at that point? His word? He's not going to be anywhere around. And he lives in Mannheim. He doesn't live in South Anvil. He doesn't have the right to say, I live in Mannheim. We don't care. We want to talk to the people that live in South Anvil because this affects us. This doesn't affect him where he lives. This is South Anvil. So, and the Mount Pleasant, my last thing, the Mount Pleasant. Well, I think Mount Pleasant is a lovely road. It's a lovely country road. The intersection, I get it. Don't go at 5 o'clock. But it's a lovely road. And I love the slogan, keep Mount Pleasant pleasant. That's all I have to say.
My name is Mary Ann Goulden, and I'm from Swatara Township, and I feel for you folks in South Anvil. And I'm scared for this entire community because Pennsylvania is pristine. The land is beautiful. The water is beautiful. And the water is plentiful. And we care for each other. And just today, I read on MSNBC and on CNN 2 things that were really shocking to me. And that is data centers have 16 degrees increase in temperature for 6 miles. That's MSNBC. CNN says the people that die most from heat exposure are the elderly, the sick, infants, and the poor. The poor in our community will be replaced by AI, which is what we're housing in this data center. So as you look around, check your neighbors and see who is not going to be able to pay their electric bill, because they will get a different rate for paying electricity than what you and I will get. They will be able to have non-disclosures so that they will be able to avoid different things. I think it would be very interesting to find out if these gentlemen would be happy to draw up an irrevocable legal contract saying that the more data will require not any more water, because I don't know where they're going to get 500,000 gallons a day to cool the center, and what that's going to be for all the rest of us. And that they're throwing around the tax money. Really? Are they really going to stand up for the tax money? If that's in an irrevocable legal document, that they will be responsible for that, maybe that's a plus. But it seems to me that our neighbors and our natural resources are what really should matter. Thank you.
Start in the back.
My name is George Beard, and if anybody knows right now, yesterday I was talking on Facebook multiple times because I have 19 years working in data center. I've been in IT 27 years. 2.5 years of working with AI, pretty much theoretical, pretty much learning as much as I can from the beginning to architectural level. I understand your concerns. I've worked inside a data center basically for 19 years out of my military service.
May I ask you a question? How many?
Excuse me, ma'am. He has the floor now, so.
I'll answer your question. I have 7 people in there working there, going in and out of that data center. And that's only one building. Now I'm talking about the other building, they had another 24 working out of that. And there's another building that, another armory, that had their own data center. They're all over the place, even though we made that sees that's huge as this warehouse. Hershey, for example, and I was doing my research yesterday and I posted it online. They use 150 tons of water to chill their systems. That's not included in 90 tons they used in the compressor. And that was a performance test in 2018. And they're about to use, in April 2nd, they made an announcement that they're going to use AI in every single part of the production. So it's not going to go away. As for the data center, yes, it'll be noisy, but you're not going to get detrimental health problems. It's just going to be a nuisance from what your perspective is going to be. I've spent hours, sometimes 24 hours inside a data center because projects didn't go properly as planned. And it happens. So your concerns are legit, I understand. And I don't live in that area, I'm in South Lebanon. So I'd love to see it happen because there's going to be opportunities a lot of people will be able to jump into, especially younger generation, including myself. But their servers are going to create a lot of heat. Your computer at home creates heat. Your laptop feels a lot of heat because you feel it in your laptop. Those servers run 700 watts minimum, and they run not one, not two, sometimes 4 power supplies in one server. And that's only a small box about this big, this wide, and about that long. And they are stacked sometimes 3, 4 dozen in one rack. And these racks are approximately about 5.5, 6 feet tall, at least from what I'm seeing. So they need the power. And that's not even counting the generators, battery backups, all the storage devices, all the network equipment, just to keep them running. So if you have concerns, I'm free to answer questions as best I can. But sorry, I get too excited. Sorry.
I'll let, we'll maybe hold that till the end because there's other people that want comments. Sir?
Hi, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to speak. My name's Dr. Tom Dampier. I'm an injury epidemiologist of over 20 years. I've published over 100 peer-reviewed scientific papers on the topics of injury and health. I've presented over 250 times nationally and internationally. So when I heard about this data center coming in, I started doing a dissertation level dive into the research around infrasound particularly. What concerns me the most is that this is just simply too close to the community center. It's too close to the high schools. It's 0.6 miles from the high school or the elementary school, 0.94 miles from the elementary school. The people that just moved into the Carmery Place apartments, they're going to be 120 feet away from this facility. They're going to be basically cooked for 24/7, 365 days out of the year. The data centers, they can mitigate the sound that we hear, but they also emit what's called infrasound. Infrasound is below our perceptible level, except for some people. Some people will be able to hear it. We don't know what percent of the population is sensitive to this, but there is a subset of people who will be able to hear the infrasound as well. Infrasound can't be stopped. It permeates through concrete walls, permeates through the ground, permeates through anything. I've only seen research going up to a mile. That's why everybody's talking about this mile radius, because that seems to be where the research has shown the intensity levels are still pretty high from these data centers. So that's my biggest concern. Now, what is infrasound? So it's generally defined as frequencies below 20 hertz. Generally cannot be heard by humans, but probably can be heard by animals. So the farm animals will be affected. And it's largely unaffected by obstacles. And this comes from the Georgia Tech Research Institute. So what are the negative health effects of infrasound? It's used as a biological weapon. That's what President Trump used down in Venezuela to capture Maduro, right? It causes sleep disorders, anxiety, disorientation, decreased cognitive function. The health outcomes depend on the frequency and intensity and duration of time of exposure. So these are going to be running 24/7, 365. So that's a huge concern. Now, people have worked in centers like this for parts of their careers. We still don't, there are no population-based epidemiological studies yet that have been going on long enough that we can see the long-term health effects. So please don't make us an experiment for big data. Because that's basically, I'm having flashbacks of the COVID vaccines, right? They experimented on us with that. Now they're going to experiment with these data centers. It can cause nerve cell death. It can cause the heart's muscle to contract irregularly and decreases its function. And infrasound is even used in chemotherapy to enhance the uptake of the chemicals. So if something like that can be using chemotherapy, do we really want our children exposed to that 24/7, 365? I don't think so. So summary, it's just simply too close to the town center and the schools. Build it somewhere else. I'm not opposed to big data. This can't be that close to our community and schools. It's gonna harm us, and we won't know for decades, unfortunately. And nobody else knows for decades either, because these data centers have just been popping up since the last 20 years. Probably the one you always hear about is Loudoun County, Virginia. The challenge with doing those kind of epidemiological studies to see what the long-term effects are is people move out of the area because they don't want to be next to it. So we don't know what long-term effects they're going to have at this point. So that's what my biggest concern is the health effects. They're real. They'll tell you they're not. They'll tell you they can mitigate the infrasound. They can't. That's a lie. It cannot be mitigated. So that's all I want to say. Thank you very much for having us.
Could you circle your last name?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Dompier. Dompier.
D.
Dompier. Thomas.
Oh, okay.
It's on the sheet here that I had.
I was trying to find it.
Oh, it's up here.
Oh, on this.
I'm Stephen Michael Wolf. I have some very, very deep roots here in Lebanon County. I'm a lifelong Lebanon County resident. I'm absolutely 100% against this data center or any data center, not just being built in South Plainville Township, but in Lebanon County altogether. I don't think we need any of these data centers. You look at the last 25, 30 years, our government has had data centers, and guess what? They've been sucking up all of our data, spying on us, violating our constitutional rights and our civil liberties under the Fourth Amendment. Another reason I don't like the fact that they want to put a data center where they want to put it. I have deep roots in the Anvil area, the South Anvil area, the North Anvil area. I used to hunt out in South Anvil Township at a relative's farm. And Southampton would be a really nice place before they decided to put all these damn warehouses everywhere. They put these warehouses in, which I think was the dumbest thing possible, to put them right between Palmyra and Anvil. Why not could have put them up in the northern part of the county where you have 81 and 78, you could have left the truck traffic up there and not coming down to our towns and our municipalities. Another thing, electric. These data centers use up way more electric than any these little town or community is going to use up. They should be offering to pay for everybody's electric in the towns and communities that they serve. Because we're not using near the electric that they're going to be using. They're going to be using sucking up all the electric. Another thing with the electric, the grid. Okay, for decades, all we've heard is how the grid is failing, it's falling apart. Fix it. Seriously, fix it. If you want to have stuff like this in our community, fix the grid before you go out and start putting these data centers everywhere. The other thing is they're horrible looking and they're disgusting. How about we keep farmland? We have some of the best, most prestigious farmland in the entire world right here in Lebanon and Lancaster counties. How about we start preserving our farmland and stop giving it up to corporations and industry and keep our agriculture here? And that way we keep our food production here and we can support our farmers and support ag business and not be throwing it all away. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Oh, one other thing. This is not a Democrat problem. It's not a Republican problem. It's not a Libertarian problem or an independent problem. This jumps across all sides. It don't matter what political party you're a part of. Everybody I know, except maybe some of these guys, are against it. So it don't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, or Libertarian. Everybody's against it for the most part. And I yield back.
Hi, Spence Baker, South Anvil. So this is the Board of Commissioners, is this correct? Okay, so what is your influence in this whole rezoning decision?
I said at the beginning, we have no authority over this, is that those decisions are made at the township level. And this, as a matter of fact, to your point, that development I know started 30 years ago, and the zoning was set up many years ago.
So what's the?
I would like to add to that, if I may. Our planning department is responsible for inspecting. It's a saldo, it's a group effort that a lot of the municipalities hire our people to inspect and issue permits and things of that sort. So Julie is in charge of the planning department.
So you have no influence as to the decision of the rezone or not?
No, but we do get involved with making sure they do what they say they're going to do. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but they didn't tell you anything.
They have to submit the plans in writing to them and they have to go over them and inspect and make sure that they're following the plans that are submitted.
That's after the
So what
decision
was
is
the
made.
purpose of this meeting?
To
For
enforce
information, I explained that at the beginning. It was for information. They asked for an opportunity to come here and present information. That's it.
So you have no,
Sir, I said that at the beginning of the meeting. There's nothing on the table for us to make any decision about at this point.
okay.
We don't have
So
that
you
authority.
have a list of criteria by which you use to say yay or nay about this 150,000 square feet of industrial building?
Not our decision.
If they build it at 160,000 square feet instead of 150, I think Julie can say you have to rip it down and make it according to your plan.
Your point is, we don't have a decision-making part in this. After the decision is made, if it is a yes, then we would be, but after only, not at this, not.
Okay, so you really don't have, you're just a building inspection deal here.
Well,
That's
in this
it.
particular part, but we were doing this as a courtesy because they asked to explain it. We thought people would be able to hear some of the details, and that's why I was happy to entertain this because you learn a lot by listening to people and so on.
So the people that really are in the decision-making process to the list of criteria that they will have to go by to grant the rezoning of this property is the Board of?
Supervisors in South Anvil Township.
Okay, and we have to ask the Board of Supervisors their criteria by which they would grant the rezoning to industrial for this particular facility.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Schroeder, please introduce
Michael
yourself.
Schroeder, South Anvil Township. Just several things. One, just as a point of information for the commissioner's awareness, I have never seen such a groundswell of popular opposition to any proposed project than this project. The meeting that was held in the Anvil, Cleona Auditorium last week, 160 plus people, as documented in the Lebanon Daily News, and probably more if they had heard about it in time. And to build on Mr. Wolf's point, it transcends political parties, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, everybody, everyone who spoke, all 24 people who spoke at that meeting last Wednesday, spoke in opposition to the proposed data center. That's point number one. Point number two, I am helping to coordinate opposition. I encourage South Anvil Township residents who are opposed to this project to be in touch with me. I'm putting together an email list. I have a Substack, and hoping to put together a larger committee that will act in, subcommittees and so on, that will act in various ways to oppose this center. Third and final point is tonight at Lebanon Valley College, as part of their Earth Days presentation. It's kind of an amazing coincidence here. There's a keynote address by Rob Altenberg, of Senior Director for Energy and Climate at Penn Future. And the topic he will be presenting on tonight at 7 p.m. is the high cost of intelligence, AI's impact on the grid, communities, and the climate. So that's Rob Altenberg from Penn Future. Penn Future, along with Food and Water Watch and others, is helping to spearhead a statewide effort to impose a statewide moratorium on construction of new data centers until we can begin to understand sort of what the impacts are and begin to impose some reasonable limitations and regulations on this unrestrained build out that we're seeing at the moment. So thank you.
Okay, any other takers?
One quick question. The sketches they gave you, are you gonna post those online?
I can do that.
Do they have like layout of where the proposed buildings are at?
Yeah.
As you said, that's not final, but
No, but I mean,
proposing.
give you a
at this
rough
point.
idea.
Or you can come up and take a picture with your camera if you like. It's up to you.
All right, and entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry, you have?
Yeah, I did some research.
What's your name, sir?
Oh, my name is Gary Haas,
Gary Hess, thank you.
and I read that data center will use the same amount of electric as 92 million people will in the course of a year. That's a big number.
That's also.
That's what I'm saying. I feel they should pay for all of our electric. They're gonna use that much of.
We don't even want to pay for electric. You're happy paying for your own electric and not having them around? I am. Another question is, what was this amount of water they said they use in the course of a day?
100,000 is what I think is the net. But
Okay.
you have to verify that
The
with him.
information depends on what
He said
process they use.
800,000.
They have not finalized the
Yeah.
process for that.
The data center danger paper here.
Mhm.
And one of the things is the water. 5 million gallons of water daily is used in the data center.
Well,
So I don't know if anybody wants to use the homework, we did some homework on this, but this is not being told the right way.
thank you.
I believe Anvil sewer plant, if I'm right, processes about 500,000 gallons a day.
Yeah, I think they might have said somewhere that they're going to use about 10% of what the sewer plant produces. I don't know. I remember that from somewhere.
Amy Eastwood on Anvil. I don't know if anybody here, well, I know some of you were at the meeting last Wednesday. One of the things that never came up today, but is really important, is the people that live in Mayapple Woods. They said there are nesting eagles back there. So that's another thing that they have to investigate.
I guess I have one more statement. I guess the statement is based on what the gentleman said in the corner about the electric usage. I think everybody that's sitting here knows how things have gone up, whether you're going to the grocery store obviously when you're getting gas in your vehicle, et cetera, how in God's name are we gonna be how can we afford not only to pay our bills where we live, our taxes? I used to live in South Lebanon. I don't anymore. I'm now in South Anvil. I know the difference with the taxes. Believe me, they're a lot higher where I'm at. How are we gonna afford to do all that and pay an electric bill? How?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Donna Torres, South Elmville. So you have no input. Are we going to be able to speak to these people that are going to make the ultimate decision?
They have public
No.
meetings. They have public.
They will have meetings?
Or you could individually, it's your township
They said
supervisor.
no, May 15th, 13th, May 13th at Anvil County.
I'm not familiar with their schedule, but they all have public meetings. They're required.
Before they make the decision.
Of course. Yeah.
Because when it's made, it's too late. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and to that point,
That's the thing.
rezoning should be done by June or July, they were saying at the Wednesday meeting, so better get on board onto the town.
That's really.
Board of Township Supervisors. Discuss it with them. June or July.
Well, July, with all the postings, so they have to legally do by state law.
Folks, I think you've had plenty of time for some input. I'm gonna adjourn our meeting, but again, thank you for your concern and coming and sharing information. Thank you.